Reaching age 55 is a significant milestone. It's the point where you can access your pension for the first time, including your 25% tax-free cash. But the big question is, should you? In another video, I explained how combining tax-free and taxable pension withdrawals in stages could leave you better off. And with over 50,000 views on that video, it clearly struck a chord. But it also sparked great comments from people who'd taken a tax-free lump sum straight away and said it was the right move for them. So in this video, I want to walk you through 5 solid reasons why taking your 25% tax-free lump sum straight away might make sense and why waiting isn't always better. Hi, I'm Toby. I'm a chartered financial planner and I've helped hundreds of clients and families make sense of their money. And on this channel, I explain how money really works in plain English. And just to be clear, unless I say otherwise, we're talking here about defined contribution pensions. Yeah, that's a type where you've built up a pot of money that you're in control of and you draw out as much as you need. Not the final salary pensions, which pay a guaranteed income and usually offer a lump sum up front. So let's start with the most obvious reason. You need the money. Not for a cruise, new kitchen or a sports car, but just to stay afloat, reduce stress or get life working for you again. I worked with one client recently who was in her late 50s and she was still working full time, and to be honest, she was completely burnt out, and her boss had offered her a part-time role which gave her more flexibility and less pressure, and she wanted to take it, but she couldn't afford the income drop. A large proportion of her outgoings were going on her mortgage. We looked at her pension and she had enough tax-free cash within the pension to completely clear her mortgage. Her deal was ending soon anyway, and so she'd have a clean exit. And she took it, she paid it off, and overnight her monthly expenses dropped. The plan still worked, most importantly. She still had enough left to retire comfortably. 3 months later, I saw her again, and she was working part-time, she was sleeping better, and she was smiling more. She told me that she'd felt like she'd finally got her life back, and this wasn't about upgrades, it was about survival, because the debt, it felt like it become a bit of a trap, and clearing it gave her space to breathe. So that's the first reason to take your tax-free cash. You need the money. The next one's becoming much more relevant since Labour's October 24 budget, where they announced plans to include pensions in your estate for inheritance tax. Now, the one thing that stood out to me was how many people didn't realise that pensions weren't already taxed this way. Because right now, when you die, whatever's left in your pension usually passes on free of inheritance tax. But from April 27, that's changing. Pensions will be included in your estate, just like your home, your savings and your ISA. So if you take 100 grand of tax-free cash and leave it in the bank and then die without spending it, and your total estate is over the £325,000 nil rate band threshold, there's going to be a £40,000 inheritance tax bill on that 100 grand. Had you left it in your pension though, the bill would be zero. So until now, it's made sense to keep it in the pension unless you need it. But from 2027, pensions and bank savings will be treated the same for IHT, but that doesn't mean that you should just take it out. But it does remove that tax reason to leave it in. But if you're 75, there actually is a reason to take it out, because if you die at that age or over, your beneficiaries also pay income tax when they withdraw the money. Take a 400 grand pension pot, and that would drop to £240,000 after IHT. Then income tax might take another 45%, leaving just £132,000. That's nearly 270 grand from 400 grand gone before anyone's spent a penny. So after April 27, if you're at that age, it really makes sense to consider taking it out so that it's only hit with a 40% IHT tax bill and not the double whammy of income tax too. And that's the second reason to take it, the double tax trap. This one's for anyone with a defined benefit or final salary pension. And these schemes, they don't give you a pot, they pay you a regular income often with inflation protection and guaranteed for life. Some include a tax-free lump sum, and others let you choose between a higher income or a bit less of an income, but with a larger lump sum. And that's called commuting. You surrender some of that guaranteed income for the larger lump sum. And on paper, giving up £1,000 a year of income for, say, £12,000 in tax-free cash can feel like a bit of a win. And for some it is, because they don't actually need the full income, and having access to that lump sum can be really useful. It might be for replacing a car, helping the kids, sorting out the house, or just having more flexibility in those early years of retirement. And if the income you're giving up won't be missed because you don't actually need it all, it can be a great trade-off. And so that's the third reason, the DB flexibility trade. Some people I meet have no cash, no ISA savings. They just have one big pension pot. And that looks fine on paper until the boiler breaks or the car fails its MOT. And sure, the tax-free cash is technically yours in the pension, but to get at it, you've got to go through a few hurdles. You've got to request drawdown, you've got to deal with paperwork and provider delays, and some providers, they're lengthy delays, and that's no good when something needs sorting out now. But if you've already taken it and moved it into an ISA or savings account, it's there when you need it. No delays and no stress. And if it's invested the same way as it was in the pension, the growth potential hasn't changed. It's just easier to get to. And that's the fourth reason, the access problem. This last one's less about planning and it's more about perspective, because sometimes the most human reason to take your tax-free cash is just this: to enjoy it while you have the energy to make the most of it. Health changes as we age, and we all know that. And while planning, tax efficiency, and making the numbers work are important, they're not everything. There's a temptation to wait for the perfect moment, but most people don't regret spending money too early, but they regret waiting too long if it turns out they've got more than enough to support their needs. So if you're in good health and there are things you've always wanted to do, travel, spend time with the family, and maybe just tick something off your list, it might be worth using some of that tax-free cash now. You don't have to blow it, just use enough to create the memories whilst you can. And so that's the fifth reason to take it, so you can enjoy it while you can. So should you take your pension tax-free cash? Not always. For some people, just leaving it alone makes more sense. But if a plan still works and supports it, and you need the money or there's a clear reason to use it, then it can be one of the most powerful decisions you'll make. Because sometimes improving your life now is better than waiting for a perfect moment that may never come. That this stuff needs proper planning with your life at the center, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. If you found this helpful, hit the like button and subscribe for more. And you want to see how to take income from your pension without triggering big tax bills, watch this other video that I made next. It's linked right here, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.